But Jeff, you caught the internet by storm this past week.
Oh boy.
I loved the promo. I started getting lots of texts and tags on Saturday night. We got about a minute and a half version of the promo on Collision on this weekend. But then I saw where someone said, hey, they've got the full unedited cut over on the AEW YouTube. And we've got that linked in the description for today's show. So if you haven't seen it already, wherever you're enjoying podcasts, we'll have a link there so you can see the full 9-minute video. But Jeff, it was amazing. It's gotten universal praise from Dave Meltzer, from Sean Ross Sapp, and everyone every luminary, every talking head says this is incredible. And I think what people love and the reason it resonates, Jeff, is because it wasn't a promo. It was just you talking. It was your heart. It was your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. You allowed yourself to be vulnerable, which is why I enjoy doing this podcast with you. But man, it was just incredible. Tell us about how that came to be and what the feedback you've gotten has been.
Connie, we were just laughing, and I
Yes.
wear my emotions on my sleeve. I was actually fully prepared to kind of talk. I'll just say high level. The chair situation started off. I mean, Conrad, literally every time. Well, I'll tell you a little story behind the story. So last Wednesday at Dynamite was at George Mason University, and that is the home of Sanjay Dutt. He literally grew up 10 minutes from the arena. He met his, went to high school in that area. He met his wife, Ashley, at George Mason. They graduated from there. So a lot of history. So we went up last week and we were in a true dark match. Me and Jay had a hell of a time. We put Sanjay up on our shoulders afterwards because, it was a cool kind of homecoming kind of feeling with his wife and kids and all that kind of good stuff. But, the real reason I went up there, or a secondary, or the main reason, that's a better way to phrase it, is to do the interview. It was kind of, I guess, formally, and there had been talk off and on. Conrad, I don't know for how deep the conversations got, but I believe there was conversations last year about it. I don't know how far they went. It wasn't none of my business. There's a real joy in my life, Conrad, and we've talked about this off air, that, when you're not in that creative process, because I was in it or in and out of it for so long. And if it goes well, the talent gets the credit. And if it goes bad, the creative process gets all the blame. And that's just the reality of it. But last year I was not a part of it. The tournament, and that was cool. And then this year, there was a little bit, I'll say a little bit of chatter off and on about it. And then I guess as kind of the layers went down, and in a way, when I heard that the stakes, the stipulations, the winner moves on to Wembley, Conrad, I immediately said, all right, that eliminates me. And I get it. I mean, there's anybody listening to this show, me, you, we all know, for the most part, my journey, and everything that goes with it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the up and the down and everything, so I just went, okay, those 8 guys, got to have an appendage to Wembley. And then, Conrad, I had that thought. I'm like, that tournament is my Wembley. But the decision was made to put me in. And so last Wednesday it kicked off with Pac and Claudio, and they wanted me to sit down and really just answer one question: what's it mean to me? So me and Karen were at catering and with Jay, and just sitting there talking, and I was doing, I'll call it my day job, my business development job. So I was in and out of different production rooms and moving and all that, but I ran upstairs to get a bite to eat. And then they said, hey, we're going to try to schedule this later in the night, blah, 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 what time works for you. And then they let us know, okay, we're going to do the dark match before the show starts, and that's for Sanjay and all that. So had a blast doing that. And then afterwards came through and they said, hey, when you get cleaned up, let's go do it. And Karen said something to the effect, guys, it's the only thing that he cries about every time. Man. So, yeah, I mean, and I've kind of asked myself, just why is that? And I think, and I text Sanjay this, I guess that would have been late Friday night. And he said, hey, are you okay if we release the extended version or the uncut version? And I'm like, hey, man, not at all. And then Zane, Zane, awesome dude, man. As a human, he's awesome, but shot it, edited it, produced it. He was very complimentary because when we got home Thursday morning, Karen went right to work and sent some pictures and different things. And, from a production standpoint, I told Karen, I said, hey, give them what they, as much as we can, or what they want. So that got done. So they were very appreciative, I guess you could say, of the efforts. And I'm thinking, and this is where I'm kind of going with this kind of part of the story is, and I told them, Zane and Sons, it's like, hey guys, this may sound a little wacky, a little corny, but it helps me. So I appreciate the opportunity. It helps me more than it helps you. Just the opportunity to get it out, because as I've learned, and man, I feel like a freaking, stuffing that for 18 years is the lesson for me that I can hopefully offer up, and everyone can take it at their own pace or not. Is that, man, when you really stuff feelings down and don't feel it, don't grieve it, don't think about it, don't process it, don't talk about it, one way or another, it's gonna come out. It is. There's you can slice it and dice it all you want, and just the when I sat down in that chair, Conrad, I mean, it was like it was as if the first time they said, hey man, we're thinking about putting you in the Owen tournament. And it kind of struck me. I'm like, this time it's 2023. I'm like, can you, I mean, that's like, you can't write this story. If you would have told Jeff sitting in that chair the day after Monday Night Raw, 23, 24 years later, hey, you're going to be in a tournament for another promotion, and it's going to be the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, and you're going to be in it. I mean, Karen and Cody Saturday night in Cleveland played the lotto, and I would have told you I got a better chance of winning the lotto if that happened. It just doesn't make sense on any level. But here we are in 2024, with the circumstances and the realities, and them sitting me down and saying, what are your thoughts? And me again, really having the opportunity to process it all. I'm grateful for it. Not easy. It's painful at times. But it is my opportunity to talk about him, to talk about Owen, and just, I had this thought over the weekend that, and I hope this, Conrad, you always kind of help rough out the edges. But when I think about everything that went with, out of all the people that were a part of that show that night in May of '99, the one individual that I think would have been a unanimous decision. No. Owen, nobody deserves to have a work accident and pass away, but of all people. And I think that's one of the things that I've wrestled with. Why him? Why Owen? Why? And I've said that in the interview in the uncut version. We both bought our, at the time, what you'd call, and I'm very grateful, the dream home. I got to move in mine. He didn't. I got to live on with life. His was cut short, and just all that emotion just came up. And I really am. I look at this, and yes, it's professional wrestling, but the business that I've given my life to is that I get to actually participate in a professional wrestling event 25 years later that honors my friend Owen. That's special to me.
It's special to everyone who saw the interview because we can tell how much it means to you. And I think that's the reason everyone has gravitated to this interview. I struggle to even use the word promo because although it is to promote a match and to promote a tournament, it feels so much bigger than that. And calling it a promo feels like maybe it's disingenuous. And I know that it's not. And everyone listening to this is so far in the bubble, they know what I mean when I say, we know we're all sort of in on the gag of professional wrestling. We know the bit, but that was real. And that is real. That's real life. And that's the reason people gravitate to it. And I've seen a lot of people who are now saying Jeff has to win the thing. Like the Owen tournament, certainly there's stakes now where the winner gets a title shot, and that's been decided by Martha and Tony Khan, and that's cool. And maybe there's a lot of people who think that, oh, well, Jeff Jarrett shouldn't get a title shot in 2024. I would challenge you to say, let's let everybody else tell their motivation and their story and why this matters to them and see how we feel. I think you very much deserve that opportunity. And it's interesting because as we're sitting here to record, we don't even know who your opponent is going to be in round one. It's Claudio and Pac, it's Danielson and Shingo, it's Ray Phoenix and Jay White, and then Jeff Jarrett and Wild Card. And there's been lots of speculation about who that opponent is. But I've seen a lot of people who say, boy, if Jeff doesn't win the thing, it's a lost opportunity. That had to make you feel good that in an effort to try to pay homage to Owen Hart, there's a whole lot of people who are now pulling for you and your story. I just, when wrestling's good, there ain't nothing better. And that's the best thing I've seen in wrestling this year. So thank you for that.
Wow. Back on your comment, and I'll get, if your sounds like your phone blew up and the messages and social and all that. Mine did too. And I don't want to name names, but there was an awful lot of folks that articulated, hey, I don't want to call it a promo. Hey, I don't want to call it an interview. I don't know what to call it. And that's super respectful.
Yeah.
I think super, and I get that. But you said something that our listeners, and a lot of times it goes much further than just our, the whole, I'll say the whole world, is in on the gag. I think that's how you said it. And I don't want to say kind of counterpoint, but here's kind of where I'm going with it. It is that I mean, it goes without saying. Every word I said was super emotional, as real as it gets. But the beauty of our business, to me, is like none other. Is that the blurring of the lines, if you will, between that's real and that's story. And when you head down that path, it's like whoever I wrestle or any of the matches, we know it's scripted entertainment. But the beauty of our industry is when those, and yes, we're in on the gag, and I'm trying to say this where maybe you can understand it's just in my heart of hearts, the core to me, it's one of the reasons I really, really love this industry is that tragic situations, and it doesn't erase anything, make anything better, but it's living life on life's terms, one day at a time. And here we are, and the whole world gets to see what a great human being Owen, in the business that he gave his life to, his father gave his life to, several brothers, the family. Um, but here we are in 2024, and the vehicle to create awareness on who and what Owen was all about is through this professional wrestling tournament. But the and I hate to even call it art, but that's the only thing. That's why I'm looking for a word, is that is a part of, I'll call it kind of the magic of this business, that I think you have a podcast network. Wrestling's been around forever, monster numbers in and out. They're making all kind of announcements. The other company about, this venue and this deal, all this, but it all kind of boils down to creating that emotional connection. And that's that to me, trying to take a step back and put on my producer cap and watch the talent of the Last Outlaw, Jeff Jarrett. I think that is what that's all about. Real raw emotion channeled into professional wrestling.
I say this with all due respect to the other characters in wrestling, but like we all know, when the Undertaker is on camera talking as the Undertaker on a wrestling program, it's the Undertaker, it's story. But it's different for you because your character is Jeff Jarrett. And if you were to hold your driver's license up to the camera, don't do that. But if you were, it says Jeff Jarrett on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it's hard to, see where the character stops and the person ends. And I think that's what we as wrestling fans gravitate to. We want to believe. We want to suspend our disbelief. We want to be able to say, okay, now I know that's part of the show, but now this was real. And that's that emotional connection. That's that authenticity that we're talking about. And that was not a Last Outlaw promo. That was not a Double J promo. That was not a King of the Ring or King of the Mountain promo. That was not the Intercontinental Champion talking. That was not the NWA Champion talking. That was Jeff Jarrett talking about his friend Owen Hart. And Dave Silva's our producer here, and he says in our live chat, our private chat, just you and I and him, Jeff winning the tournament would be the best closing to a movie ever. Lord, what a story. Because there's better. And listen, it feels even disingenuous because what you were sharing was honest. You're happy to celebrate Owen's memory. And I don't know what the original creative plans were. I do feel like maybe they boxed us into a corner when they said it's for a title shot, but we could figure that out later. But you got to be there at the end holding up that cup. You got to be there wearing that Owen Hart belt. That Owen Hart belt needs to be behind you. Like, respectfully to everyone else involved in the tournament, this is no longer about who's going to have the flashiest move or who can pin someone's shoulders to the match. It's now the whole thing now is, can Jeff Jarrett pull it off? That's the story of the entire tournament now. And I think Tony Khan deserves a lot of credit for putting you in the tournament, because it would have been really easy to say, boy, what's the new flashy, shiny object? What's the next big thing? Whatever. And as you've said, you're maybe on the downhill slope at this stage of your career. Maybe that's as a launching pad for some new, young, up and coming talent. But that story writes itself. And for him to not only allow that promo, you in the tournament, and then that promo to air on TV, but then upload the full thing. So folks got the full context. there's a lot of other promotions that would not have done that, Jeff.
Oh, I'm with you. And that's what I'm saying. I'm grateful across the board. You know, I said it on the uncut version, Conrad. You know, when I think back of those 56 days when we really got in and pulled the layers of the onion back, in a lot of ways, my road to recovery was the awareness that I really had to unpack a lot of things. I had to really get to know Jeff better than I thought I did, much better. I really had to process some things. And once those, I always refer to them, those kind of layers of the onion started peeling back. And I look back on the last 7.5, coming up on 8 years. I just think about, my goodness. I am very grateful for so many things, podcast included, pal. But I mean, Karen, the kids, work, business, dad. Just, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you know exactly what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, and I'm pulling for you. And I think the entire internet wrestling community is. And what's funny is when you were first announced as being a participant, boy, there was a lot of criticism online. And people were like, what the, I wanted to see this dream match and that dream match. And nobody's saying that now, Jeff.
Oh, sure they are. And that's
No,
part of the rest of business. Sure they are.
I don't think they are. And those folks who are, just respectfully, you don't get it. Like, you mean you just don't.
They signed up. They can cheer or boo or.
Oh, sure. But we're allowed to tell them that they're wrong.
Okay. I mean, all right. Point taken.
Wrestling is supposed to be like when people are like, hey, what's your favorite memory of wrestling as a kid? Almost never do we hear someone talk about a 5-star match. It's about the way something made them feel.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever I would ask some of my older friends, hey, what was your favorite angle? Oh man, the hat and the robe with Blackjack and Flair. And for me, man, it was like Earthquake and Hulk Hogan and the Mega Powers exploding. And I mean, I keep naming all these Hulk Hogan things. Zeus.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not 5-star. What? Like, Zeus maybe ate at a 5-star restaurant, but like as a kid, that's what I resonated, or what resonated with me. And I think you nailed it here. And I think AEW's on to something. And I hope they see it all the way through.